Hey guys, this is Dr. Callahan for week 17 Thursday for Algebra 2 Semester 2. How are you guys doing? Go ahead and pause the video and answer the following 3 questions for your warm-up log. All right, let's go ahead and get started for today, you guys. As you guys know, today is Thursday, so that is going to be right over here. And on week 19 Friday, which is going to be in 3 weeks, we're actually technically 2 weeks and 1 day. It is going to be due on the 27th. It's going to be worth 300 points. So just keep that in mind. If you have any of the boxes incomplete, make sure you guys just go to the YouTube channel and pause the video in the very beginning and catch up on your warm-up log. The last day for you to turn any assignments in is June 2nd, which is that Thursday right here, the day before the final at 2:25 p.m. And that's for your Math Excel assessment, any of the hard copies, guided notes, anything that you have in class you haven't turned in. That is the very last day. Keep in mind your Common District final is coming up in 3 short weeks. And as you guys know, we have gone over the specifics about that test. Your grades and scores for this class is as shown. So take a look at the check marks that you've been receiving on your roster as you walk in. If you haven't turned in anything, that's probably the reason why you don't have a check mark. So if you're watching the video today, you obviously know the YouTube channel is available for you guys. Any of the videos, warm-up questions that we've gone over since week 1, Monday of the 2nd semester is available on that YouTube channel. Last class was week 17 Wednesday, so this is what we went over. We actually learned how to solve logs on both sides using our calculators. One of the important things that we discussed was that you cannot have negative for logs and ln because it results in an error. So you cannot have any negative numbers after a log. So we talked about the strategies of how to solve for logs, how to combine them. If it's a plus, you multiply it. If it's a minus, you divide it. If you have a number in front, like number 13 that we talked about, you always put it as an exponent. And then we also use extraneous solutions to check them to make sure that you don't have any negative logs, because anything with a negative is a big no-no. It results in a no solution. And so we went over questions all the way up to number 16. And so you should have that done. Okay, then your assessment for Wednesday was to do the quizzes. If you were not here that day, you can still join it. Just go to joinmyquiz.com, insert the following code. All right, so today is Thursday. We're going to use properties of log to solve and graph logs. So you need to have your guided notes. We're going to do a poster of graphing logs. So make sure you guys grab a poster as well. If you're here with a sub, you will definitely have that information and material available to you guys. I have my Sharpies here as well, so you're welcome to grab the Sharpies. So with that said, we're going to start off with number 17, 18, and 19, kind of finishing the day of going over this material, and then we'll move on to the next part of this. So for number 17, if you guys take a look at this right here, you have a log 8 and a log 8 on the same right side. Notice how this one is a minus, so automatically you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to divide it. So I'm gonna write log base 8 x minus 2 divided by x plus 2 equals log 8 x minus 1. So then you guys know that your log just cancels and have x minus 1 equals x minus 2 over x plus 2. And so then what you can do here is you can kind of like crisscross them and multiply. So multiply those two together and then multiply these two together. And when you do that, you're going to have to FOIL it, okay? Because if you take a look at the diagonals, what I'm putting parentheses on, you have to FOIL those two numbers. I know that 1 times x minus 2 is just x minus 2, so that's simple enough. But make sure you FOIL. So first is x squared. My outer is going to be a 2x. My inner is going to be a negative 1x. So when I combine like terms, it's just a positive 1x. And then my last is a negative 2. Strategy-wise, remember I told you guys if you have an x squared and an x, most likely, and probably definitely, you're going to have to move your x and the negative 2 over to the right side. So I have a 0 on the left side, and I have x squared. Positive 1x minus 1x is going to be a 0x. Negative 2 plus 2 is going to be a 0 as well. So in this situation, you have 0 equals x squared because everything else canceled. Opposite of a square is a square root, so x equals 0. But remember, you have to check for extraneous solutions, which is ES. And if you plug that 0 in here for x right there, is it possible for you to have a log base 3 0? So if you think about it, log base 3 0 is the same thing as saying log 0 over log 3. I don't think that's possible, but what you can do is you can definitely try it and check it with your calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and check with my calculator as well. So here's my calculator, and let's go ahead and turn that on. And so you're just going to type in log 0 divided by log 3. And guess what? You get an error. So it is not going to work. But it's always nice to check just to verify that answer to see if indeed if it worked or not, or in this situation, definitely a big no-no because it didn't work. All right, so in this situation, it is just, nope, that's not your answer. And so in this way, I mean, what do you actually do? You just put no solution. That's the only thing that you can do at this point. Okay, so now that we're done with this one, let's go ahead and work on the next one, which is going to be number 18. All right, so for number 18, go ahead and read the question, pause the video and try to start it on your own. Okay, so let's take a look. You have log base 3 time, plus means times. So I'm going to put log base 3, 6 times 8, which is going to give you a 48, equals a log base 3x. Well, this is pretty simple for the most part. You have your log base 3, log base 3. The two of those will just cancel each other out. And then you're just going to have x is equal to 48. Now, make sure you check for extraneous solution. And you can see if I put in the x for log base 3, 48. And again, if you're like, does that work or doesn't it work? You could definitely try it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put log 48, close a parenthesis, divided by the base, log 3. And guess what? It actually does give you an answer. So it is totally fine. So your answer is good, and your answer can be kept as x is equal to 48. And you're done. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next piece. Okay, so for number 19, taking a look at number 19, you have ln x minus ln 5. So for this one, there is a minus right here. So immediately, I hope you're thinking about division. So have ln x divided by 5 equals 0. So in this situation, you don't have an ln on both sides, but you do know to get rid of the ln, you will have to put an e in there. So then what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and put a e right here and an e right there. So ln e cancels, x over 5 equals, what is e to the 0 power? It is going to give you 1. If you're not sure, here's your calculator. Just hit second, ln, type in 0, and do you see how it gives you a 1 right there? So then we're just going to replace that with a 1. Excuse me. And then we're going to go ahead and solve for the x. So what you can do here is you can put a 1 here and then crisscross multiplication. So we're going to have the x times the 1 is equal to 5 times 1. So then naturally you should just have x equals 5. And then if I plug in my ln just to check for extraneous solution, ln 5 is totally fine. It's not a negative, so this is a good answer. All right, so then let's go on to number 20. So for number 20, it's a little bit different. So with this one, what you see here is I see there is a 2, which I want to bring it up as an exponent. I see there's a 5, which I don't like it tagging along. So I'm just going to go ahead and subtract it on both sides. So rewriting this, I'm going to have log base 2 x squared equals 16. And then as I'm looking at this, remember you're going to go ahead and do 2 to the 16 is equal to x squared. Do you remember that? And so let's go ahead and solve this with our calculator. So 2 to the 16 is not 2 times 16. It's not 32. So with your calculator, we need to go ahead and move this so that it is 2 to the power of 16. So let's do 2 exponent 16, which gives you a really big number. That's 6,500 or 65,536 equals x squared. So how do you get rid of the x squared? You're going to square root your answer. Oops. Enter. And your answer is 256. And that is it. That is your answer, 256. All right, so now that we are done with this, let's go ahead and talk about a few other questions here. All right, so next you're gonna need a poster, Sharpie, and a ruler. And you can grab that from the table on the black table. I'll have that just set out for you guys. And then from there, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and pick any 3 graph on the grid to graph it. You're gonna create a table and then explain to me on the transformation. So the 3 different graphs that you should have are these ones right here, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at the first one right here. So number 1, this is 4 to the x minus 1 plus 3. That's your first one. And so if you were to go ahead and graph this, so I'm gonna bring my calculator back one more time. You will go to y equals right here, make sure it's cleared up, and then you push your 4 exponent x minus 1, and then make sure you hit the little right button to move that cursor down, plus 3, and then graph. So if you take a look at this, I'm going to change my window a little bit because I see that the y value is way too big. So my y value right now is at 50. I probably want to just change that to a 10. So I can see where it's hitting the horizontal asymptote. And it looks like it's at y equals 3. Do you see that? Because it doesn't go below the 3. And then right at x equals 3, it kind of shoots up there. So on your poster, make sure you guys draw the graph as I have it here as well. All right, so then going back to this page right here, make sure you write down your horizontal asymptote is going to be right here at y equals 3. That's your horizontal asymptote, HA. And then you need to have a table of values. So going back to your calculator, you're going to hit second and then graph for the blue part, which is a table. And then if you just start at -1, this will be your table of values. And you can see that at -1, it's fairly small numbers, but then as it goes to 0, 1, 2, 3, it kind of grows pretty quickly. Like the Y value, it gets really big, really fast. And so there's your table value. And for your movement, all you need to write down is, you know, they're going to go right 1, because remember, that's going to be the opposite of a negative as a positive. So you're going to go to the right 1 and then 3 up, because it's a +3. So make sure you have this on your poster for number 1. All right, for number 2, your equation on your poster should be something that looks like this. And once again, we're going to go ahead and graph it on the calculator. So if you want to keep 1 there, that's fine. Just deselect it by clicking on the enter button for the equal sign. And we're going to select the red equation so that we can use it. So this one, I have a 1 divided by 3. So I'm going to make sure I put it in parentheses, exponent, then x plus 2. Move the little right arrow so then you can put a -1 without leaving it as an exponent. And when I graph this, it looks something like this. And notice how the direction is different. You're going from very, very big numbers, but then it's going down to -1 because this is an exponential decay. So you're starting off with really big numbers, but then it gets to very small little numbers. And it doesn't go anywhere past a -1. And so make sure you draw this diagram and make sure you have your horizontal asymptote, your HA, at y equals -1. Now for your table of values, so going back to your calculator, second graph for the table, and then you can start off at -4. So if you need to move up a little bit, just push the up button. And you're starting at -4 with 8 Y values. But then notice that as you go to -3, and notice as you go to -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, blah, 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 blah. So you're starting off with really bigger numbers. And actually, I can just move it up a little bit further. If you take a look at this right here, do you see how the numbers at -9, they're like really big numbers. You're starting with a lot of Y values. But then as you go down in the X value, or go up in the X value, notice how it's tapering off right at -1, as in it doesn't go below -1. Because this is a decay. So then graph your graph, make sure you have a horizontal asymptote, your table of value, and then your movement is, because this is a negative, you guys, you're going to go 2 to the left, or a positive, you're going 2 to the left. This is a negative, so you go 1 down. And you know this is a decay because your value in here is less than 1. Whereas the previous example, your value here is 4, so this is a growth, and it's bigger than 1 because 4 is bigger than 1. So it's a growth. All right, so then this brings us over to the third one, which is right over here. If you look at it, immediately as I'm looking at this, it's a -3. So I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be a decay. So let's go ahead and graph this. So once again, go back to Y equals. I'm going to deselect the red graph. I'm going to go to the pink graph right here. I'm going to put a -3. So start off with your parenthesis. I'm sorry. Start off with, put your parenthesis. Type in -3. Make sure you don't push the minus button, and instead you're pushing the negative button on the bottom right corner. And then push the exponent, and then you're going to type in x minus 4. And then just graph. So it looks like my graph is starting at 0 on the y-axis, and it's not really going anywhere else. I'm not quite sure why my calculator is not graphing this very nicely. Well, it just kind of stopped right there, which is kind of weird, but that's okay. Let's go over to the second graph. So you do have your graphs here. And if you look at it, you know, it's not going anywhere less than 0. So if you start over here at like 2, still at like 0.0, etc. And then looking at your answers here. Oh, you know why it's not working? Because I think it's because I put parentheses in there. So sorry, get rid of the parenthesis. Let's go back, delete it. Get rid of the parenthesis, and then let's graph it and see if that makes a difference. Yeah, it does. Okay, so no parentheses, you guys. All right, and so then I'm gonna go ahead and take a screenshot of my graph. And paste it right here for you guys to see. So on your poster, make sure you guys are drawing this. So that way you have horizontal asymptote, y equals 0, and you're drawing your graph as so. And I'm just gonna make myself a little mental note that do not use parentheses on this one. So I'm just gonna write down no parentheses in TI 84, so y equals -3, x minus 4. All right, so then let's go on to the calculator, hit second graph for the table of values. And notice how this is your table of values. You're starting off with very small numbers, and then it just decline, like it's going to the negative numbers very quickly. And that is it, you guys. This should be your answer for that. And then for the movement, notice that the -4 means you go 4 to the right, and that's it. And because there's a negative in front of the 3, you're going to reflect over the x-axis. So on your poster, you should have all 3 of these graphs on there. All right, actually, that is about it, you guys. For the very last part of what I want you guys to work on is your exit ticket, and your exit ticket is going to be right here. So on this QR code, which you want to get to, I have these questions right here. It's kind of like a job with your resume, and so you can pick any 3 things to write about. Whether it's ability, talent, achievement, work experience, educational references, go ahead and list 3 things for your exit ticket on the Padlet board. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.